Josh, welcome to our booth, and I'd like to ask you a couple of questions. I think that Cognex is a very well-known company, but just in case, could you introduce it in a couple of words to our audience?
Yeah, absolutely. So Cognex is the first and foremost vision system company in the world. So we do around $1 billion a year of just vision systems. So when most companies have a very challenging project for foreign material inspection or some of the really advanced stuff, they typically come to us, because if we can't do it, there's a very high probability that no one else can. Aside from that, we also have a big portfolio in sensors and other things like barcode readers. So we try and have like a very vast portfolio, starting from really, really basic inspections and then going all the way to multi-GPU inspections that require a lot of computing power.
At Cognex, you are responsible for global operations for food and beverage.
Yeah,
I believe.
That's right. So I look after the global packaging team. So how our team is split up is usually by two sides. It's the machine builder side and the end user side. So we try and make sure that both supply chains understand what's needed from a technological perspective to integrate projects. That's why Mitsubishi is so integral for us, because that whole communication piece between our cameras through the Mitsubishi robots as part of this whole ecosystem is absolutely imperative for us to be successful. Without having that consistent story and ubiquitous environment, it's very hard for companies to integrate quickly and at a very repeatable and accurate way.
So when it comes to your particular industry, so what is the number one challenge for customers?
So what we see as big challenges is, one is like the whole ease of use. And again, just going back to why we have relationships with Mitsubishi Electric and machine builders and the end users, is people really don't know how to specify projects well and integrate it really well. So the biggest challenge would be that whole ease of use and getting things integrated. That's definitely one of the biggest challenges.
We are talking quite a lot about customers here. We try to be as customer specific as possible. Yeah. So from your perspective, what are the main needs of the modern manufacturing companies?
So if we take like the technology part and put it aside, so we mentioned already like ease of use, right? But I think one of the most important things is how a customer specifies a project and writes the actual URS and the requirements. So because the technology is changing so fast, when we have things like deep learning, combining deep learning with things like robotics, the big challenge is, are the right people involved in the project? Is the quality department involved in the project? Are they talking to engineering? So the real challenge is, it's not as much of a technical problem. The ease of use should be really easy. It's really that commercial and communication problem. So the problems are changing in industry for sure.
You said something very important, I believe, about not only having the right equipment and the right solution for a problem, but also like being able to create a proper team of experts also on the customer side, right?
Absolutely. So with the technology advancing really quickly, when you have things like deep learning, robotics, everything that has to talk, a lot of the departments have to talk to each other to make their projects successful. So what we've seen a couple of times in industry is maybe quality is not involved from the early stage. That puts a lot of risk into the project. So communication and how people work and how companies work together to have solutions is really important. You can't do anything on your own because everyone is an expert in their individual field. So Mitsubishi Electric and Cognex are using that to combine their technology together to make sure that the end user has this whole experience. And by eliminating all the risk of the communication, we can really do it together at a fast pace.
All right. So what I try to cover also during these conversations is the future outlook. So could you identify the main trends affecting the manufacturing these days?
Sure. So I think one of the obvious ones is that everybody's talking about deep learning, right? So like everyone wants to be a deep learning specialist. AI is like absolutely everything, and that's kind of all people are talking about. That is becoming a real trend, but it's not just AI and deep learning. So it's like, what does that really mean? And what it does mean for industry is that we are looking at stuff that we couldn't do before as an industry. So if there's a human operator doing something, there's a very high probability we can do that with machine vision and robotics together. So the big trends I see are putting these technologies together, deep learning, robotics, making sure that you can take that data and actually do something with it. So usually people are also trying to combine that with the cloud. So the whole connected industry thing is actually becoming real now. And so in industry, that is for sure where we see everything going. Deep learning, taking operators out of the process, reducing those errors, and really applying the technology with robotics. And again, that's why Mitsubishi Electric and Cognex have such a good partnership. We have something that can pick up our parts, look at them, rotate them, and put them in front of a very advanced vision system. There's not many companies who can do that within a couple of hours and get something that usually took people, 6 to 8 months.
Okay, so this is something that I ask many people today. So what's your number one advice to the manufacturing companies out there?
My advice to the manufacturing companies is make sure that you set a very good specification. I don't know if other people have said the same thing.
You're first.
All right, great. But really tell the companies what you want as a final result and be willing to work with them on the process to define the problem. So again, I will talk about deep learning as a technology. So Cognex has a lot of really big deep learning projects, including using Mitsubishi Electric robots with our technology. And if people aren't scoping things properly and aren't labeling things correctly and aren't communicating on the problem, these projects can turn into absolute disasters. So it all lives and dies at the specification. And I think any machine builder will agree.
All right, Josh, perfect. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me. Absolute pleasure.